All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. I suspect we're going to have a few more individuals wandering into the waiting room. So from time to time, I'll glance over there and invite them in as we go. And just so you know, I will be recording my screen and I'll be turning that into a YouTube video. And that will be sending that link to everyone who registered for this training, either later this afternoon, early evening, or I'll send it over to you tomorrow. So look for that. We have a 2-hour window here and an hour and a half dedicated for the training with a half hour afterwards for any questions you may have. So that said, this is typically a 3-hour training, but no one wants to sit on their chair and stare at a screen for 3 hours. So we pare that time down, but because of that, with the recording, you'll be able to have Drive open and you'll be able to follow along in your own Google Drive once you get that video. So no worries about the pace. If you don't want to jump back and forth, if you just want to kick back and listen to me and watch my screen, you're more than welcome to. It probably would be a little difficult to jump back and forth, but no worries there. Again, when you get that video, you'll be able to pause and unpause anytime that you want. And if you have any questions, the title slide here does have a link on it to my information, as well as you can always respond back to the invitation link you got that was directly from me. If you have any questions about Google Slides, I'm happy to answer those for you. So if you want to pull out a pen or a pencil and write down that short URL you see there, that's great. If you're already logged into Drive, feel free to open up a tab and go to that short URL to this presentation, and you'll be able to make a copy. Once you get to this presentation, you can just click on File and then make a copy. You can name it whatever you'd like, and then you'll have your own version of this presentation that you can rip apart, use with students if you'd like. If you want, you can keep the original and make a copy of the copy, and then turn a copy into a version for your students, and then a version for yourself. So if you are hunting around furiously for a pen or a pencil right now because it's a tech training and no one expects to go run and get a pen, just feel free to pull out your cell phone. You can always snap a shot of that screen and then you can type in that address later on. Where you see the capital letters there in that short URL, you want to have the capital letters in that address. So it's goo.gl/ANZQGC. So this is a Q right here, but it's lowercase. So make sure that you put that in there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in here. I will not be following this presentation simply because no one wants to sit for 2 hours and watch somebody click through a presentation. I will be jumping over to Drive and covering everything that's in that presentation. So let's go ahead and jump over to slide 2 though real quick. So we're going to talk about the interface or the user workspace in Google Slides, how to make a new presentation. We'll talk a little bit about the themes that are available for you and how to choose them and change them if you want. We'll talk about the different slide types, how to add them and how to use them. And then adding information and formatting it on the slides. There's a variety of things you can add to a slide, and some have some specific formatting to them. And you'll see how the menu changes in order to implement those. We'll talk about animation of text, as well as transitions between slides. And we'll also talk about sharing and embedding a presentation and adding collaborators to it. And then I'll talk about a feature that is somewhat new, the question and answer mode, which might be real powerful for those of you who may from time to time find yourself doing presentations in front of a group. All right, so I'm going to jump away from here. And again, after the presentation, I can always go back to the title slide if you need to get that short link. If you look at the top of the chat window, if you don't know where the chat window is for Zoom, it's in the same area that you use to turn on and off your mic or your camera. If you don't see it on that bar, you probably have a 3-dot more menu and you should see chat there. And you can always ask a question during the training, but again, we'll have a question and answer area after this training for up to half an hour if you have any questions. And again, those of you who just arrived in the room, we will be recording this session. Expect a YouTube link either later today or tomorrow. So you'll have a video of this training that you can refer to as you go along in Drive. All right, so I'm going to jump on over to Google Drive because all things Office and Google start over here. If you're not too familiar with the Drive interface, just know that this area is where you can create docs and sheets and slides, as well as forms, Google Sites even, and so forth. But it's also a place where you can upload files and even folders from your computer, and they can be any formatted type of document. They can be JPEGs, images, GIF images, PNG, they can be Adobe PDFs, they can be anything from the Microsoft Office suite. Drive does not automatically convert them to a Google format, so you can be safe in knowing that you can upload and store your files there. And if you want a more synchronized experience, over here in the top right in Drive, under Settings, you can actually download Drive for desktop. And if you've ever used Dropbox, it works just like that. It creates a folder on your machine. Anything that you drag and drop in it stays on your machine, but it automatically uploads to your Drive file. And it will store it there and synchronize any changes you make to those files. So in order to create a Google slide, you go over here in Drive at drive.google.com and you click on the new icon and you will see slides right here. Now there's two ways to create a slide. If I just click on the words Google Slides, it'll create a blank presentation automatically. But if you pause over this little arrow right here, you get what they call a flyout menu. And you'll see that you also have the option to create from a template. And if you decide to do that, then you'll see that it takes you to this menu right here. If there are any templates that have been created and shared with your organization, they'll be here. Otherwise, under General, you'll see a variety of different templates that you can use for your presentation. And they're all fully editable. You can change images, background colors, layouts, but it may give you some elements to help you out. I'm going to close that, though, because I want us to go ahead and go from New and just click on Google Slides to open up an empty blank Google slide, just like this. So what I'm going to do, just like I do with anything that is part of the Google's educational suite, is I'm going to compare it and contrast it with the Microsoft Office product, most like it, and draw from your experience with using that. So if you've ever used PowerPoint, you'll see that this looks fairly familiar. Google did its best to create an interface that matches a simplified version of PowerPoint. If you've been using Office for a while, this may look a little bit like, say, Microsoft Office 97 or 2000, before they had that giant ribbon bar up on top with all the tabs and all the choices. Google wants to keep it simple, so they did. But however, you get about 90% of all of the features that PowerPoint has for free. And you get to collaborate with others in the interface if you want. So that said, we'll talk about what's here. At the very top left corner, it says Untitled Presentation. I could type something in here right now if I wanted to. You have your File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Slide, Arrange, and Tools, which are in the exact same order as the Windows 97 to 2000 PowerPoint format. You have your title slide here in the work area ready to go, and it is represented by a thumbnail right over here, which is blank. Any slides I make over here will show up over here in the order that I create them. Underneath this basic menu, you're going to have a menu bar that will change depending on what it is you're working on. On the right-hand side, they open up a column for you, and this area is called Themes. And there are a variety of themes that want to help you out by giving you a theme right off the bat. If this is ever closed on you, you'll see right here in this menu, Theme, and that will reopen that for you. So right now I'm on Simple Light, which just is a white background theme, but you have all of these others right here, and you can click and they will show you automatically what the slides will look like if you use that theme. You'll notice that each theme may have a different color or image, maybe some highlights. They'll use different fonts and font sizes, and the title or subtitle may be arranged a little bit different. So I'm just going to go through here and just click real quick through these so you can see how the interface changes as you go. So there's some fairly simple ones in here. Of course, in PowerPoint, you have a lot more different themes available for you, but you can import themes right here. And if you import a PowerPoint into Drive, you can actually leverage the theme that came with that PowerPoint slide, which is kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is just quickly scroll through the rest of them here, and they do from time to time add themes. So I do recommend looking to see what's there, and you can change a theme after you've created or during the time that you've created your presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this one right here, geometric, as a little bit of a pattern here, title and subtitle. So I'll do right off the bat, since I've decided on this, is I will close this column. I don't need it anymore and get back some real estate. So I'll click right here. How to create an interesting presentation. Now you'll see how it went to a separate line. This text box is too small for all of this, which really doesn't matter because even if I present, that text box is not there. But if you are picky like me, you can raise up the height of that text box right here. And what I'm going to do is highlight this, and I'm going to choose to center that. And then I'll just go ahead and type in here, Steve Woods, Tulare County, Office of Education. And I'll just scroll that down a little bit. And there we go. Okay, so I have a title slide, how to create an interesting presentation. And of course, it's an extremely boring presentation because it's just a title slide. To grab a title for this, I can go up here now and click. And when I do, it will steal the title of this presentation. It does not have to match. After you've clicked this and it's stolen it, you can go back here and change this however you want. So if I wanted to go up here and say, creating an interesting presentation, I can. It's not going to retroactively go back and change my title. If I have title remorse, I can go up here and change the name of the file, change this title anytime I want. All right. If I have speaker notes, they're down here as well, same as when you're in PowerPoint. And there's a little grab handle right here in this really light border that separates the presentation window and speaker area. So if I click right here on those three dots, I can actually drag this up and I can type in here, be sure to introduce yourself. So a nice little note to myself. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and drag this back down and get back my workspace again. All right, now to go from a slide to a slideshow, all I have to do is go right over here. Now, if I click this plus sign where it says new slide, slides, just like PowerPoint, is going to pick my next slide for me, and it might guess right. But if I use this little drop-down arrow, I can actually say I want a new slide with a specific layout. So again, this slides will choose for me. This drop-down will allow me to pick exactly the slide type I want for the next slide, which is typically title and body. This is usually where you cover things we're going to cover today. Or a student will know or be able to understand, or student will be able to explain, or et cetera, and so forth. However you want to word it. Below that is typically where you will add your bullets to break down your topic, which you will then, of course, use slides to more fully vet. So what I'm going to say here, things we're going to cover today. Things are important. We're going to cover I'll say a picture is worth 1,000 slides. And then I'm going to add animate, animate, animate. And then I will add let's transition. Sharing is caring. And then question everything. So you'll notice that my bullets are exactly that. They're bullets. They're short and sweet. I recommend when you're creating an interesting presentation that you think about all these things. What your theme is going to look like. Is it visually interesting? That you utilize pictures. That you not always be the person who talks and says everything, let your pictures, which can be very powerful, do a lot of the talking for you. And then we'll talk about animating text here and adding transitions, how to add collaborators in or share your presentation, and then I'll talk to you about the question and answer mode. So again, this is our second slide, big text box down here, title text box up here. And since I said a picture is worth 1,000 slides, I'm going to add a picture in this area here and show you how to do that real quick. Now again, this text box goes all the way across by default. Now if you have a bunch of white space here, that's okay, you can leave it, it doesn't matter. But if you're picky like me, you can click in this area and then use these resize boxes here in order to drag and make this text box more adequate for the text you've got, leaving this actually totally blank. To insert an image, there are two different ways to do it. Either insert image, or right here on this toolbar, you have insert image. And if I click that drop down, you'll see that there are 6 different ways to add an image to a slide. You can upload it from your computer if you have an existing image you'd like to use. You can search the web, which is what we're going to do in a moment. If you've got a folder with images in Drive, you can actually dig into those Drive folders, find the image, and insert it. You've also got photos. Now, if you're an iPhone user and you've not added Google Photos to your phone, then in all likelihood, you don't have any pictures going from your phone into Google Photos. But if you're an Android phone user, then you had to create a user account with a Google Gmail account, and you had to add that to your phone for it to work, which means that your photos are being backed up to photos.google.com. Which also means if you're logged in with the same Google account, you can dig into your photos that you took with your phone and you can add them. Now, there's nothing keeping you if you have a iOS device, an Apple phone, there's nothing keeping you from installing Google Photos for free on your phone and letting Google Photos back up your photos and videos online in a private location. One great thing about that is you can tell your phone to not store any of those photos or videos on the phone after they're backed up, thereby giving yourself back potentially gigabytes of space on your phone to use for other things like upgrades. You can also add by URL. If I click here, you can insert an image by URL. So if I go images.google.com and I type in, say, presentation, and if I want to use, say, this one right here, I have to know the address. Well, if I right-click on this image, I can actually see that there is a copy link. So there's also, though, a copy image address. So if I click that, I can insert that URL right here. I need the full URL all the way down to the .jpg, the .png, and so forth. So it has to have this file ending, just like docs. Word docs are a .docx and PowerPoint files are a PPTX. You need that .jpg, .gif, .png, etc. Otherwise, you don't have the full address for the file. But if you can get to it using that technique I just showed you, you can insert. It will actually take that image and it will put it right into here. Now, this is sort of like a copy that's been inserted into your presentation. So if the folks who have this website have this image and they change it, it's not going to retroactively change the image in your presentation. It actually just copies it and puts it into your presentation. It's a standalone copy. Now, you'll notice after I inserted this that I resized a little bit and I moved it. So again, if I click on an image, I have to select what I want to affect. So I'll click on the image. I get resize boxes here in the corners and in the middle. And then I get this little dot on top. The dot, just like PowerPoint, allows me to tilt this image. I'm going to use my undo button and put it back straight again. So under Insert Image, we covered almost all of them here. We're going to talk about Search the Web in a moment. The last one here is Camera. Now look at your computer in front of you right now. If you have a camera on it, where's it facing? Well, it's facing you. So unless a selfie is going to increase visual interest in your PowerPoint, and I don't know, maybe you're a really good looking person, maybe you actually will draw lots of attention to your presentation with a simple smiley face. But having a camera pointed directly at you is probably not going to be too helpful. That said, if you are creating a slide presentation on your phone or on a tablet, remember you have that back-facing camera, and you can turn that on, flip the camera, and take a picture using the back of that camera. I want to talk about this one right here, search the web. So I'm going to click on that. In the same area where we had themes, I now have a column to search images. Now, of course, just like I did a moment ago, I could go and do a Google image search, and I could probably find tons and tons of images. But some of these images have copyright. This one right here probably does too. And if I were to publicly release this and let anybody look at this presentation, I could wind up getting the artist who created this graphic mad at me. They may contact me and demand that I take it down. Or worse, they could ask that I pay some restitution for having used this image. So I'm going to click here and delete this one. And I'm going to use that image search right here. This time I'm going to type in presentation and hit enter. There are not going to be 64 million images on presentations like there is on a regular image search. But these images regarding presentation are ones that in all likelihood have an extremely loose copyright restriction. And that's because Google's image search built into docs and slides has settings built into it to look for images that have a really loose copyright. Anyone can use, edit, change, recolor, and so forth. If somebody out there lies and adds that designation to a copyrighted image, you have a little bit of protection here. Because if you can show the artist that, hey, look, I used this, this is supposed to be copyright free or real close to it, they can tell Google to remove that from their filtering for docs and slides. And more than likely, the copyright owner is just going to tell you, please remove that image and add a different one. So I'm going to click here. I want this one, and I'm going to click on insert. It's a little big, so I'm going to use my resize corners and drag it up and place it right here. All right. So I have slide 1 and now slide 2. So again, our slides show up here as a visual representation. And if I want to click on slide 1 to edit it, I can do that just by choosing it over here. So the next thing we're going to do here is add another slide. And this one says themes are important. So this should be my next slide. And then I would make as many slides as I need to talk about themes and presentations. So again, I'm going to go over here to the plus sign, click on this drop down, and I'm going to use the other more popular slide type, which is the title and 2 columns. And this is what you typically see when you're looking at PowerPoint type presentations. You're going to see text on one side and an image on the other. Then the next slide may have the image here and text here, and they'll change it up a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. So themes are important. It's all about the theme. All right. All right. So I want to add a couple of bullets here, again, short and sweet, about themes. Color it up. Keep it simple. Use the tools in the toolbox. Be consistent. All right, again, these are short, sweet bullets. I would talk about that you want colorful ones, that you want simple themes, that you want to take advantage of all of the slide types when you're using that theme, because they're there for a reason. And then be consistent. Use that theme throughout. Don't try and change it up. But you'll notice these are short, and they don't say all that. So my soapbox with regard to presenting would be that you let your slides do the talking to some extent. You use them to draw interest. So when you say color it up and they read that, they'll wonder what you mean by that. You be the one who describes what that means. It comes from you. So everyone is not riveted on your presentation. They see real quick that little thought, and now they're paying attention to you as you present. Always be the center of attention, okay? So on this side over here, I've got text as well, but I don't need text on this side. So just as with PowerPoint, I'm going to click over here and remove it. Now, PowerPoint usually has a couple of boxes right here in the middle of every text box, which allow you to quickly grab clip art or an image or a video. They didn't add that in here, so we can just throw away this text box if we don't want it. Simply click in it, click on the border, and then hit delete, and it'll go away. So again, to get rid of a text box, click on the border, and then hit delete. Now we're going to insert another image here real quick. This time we'll go insert. Actually, this time we'll do it from here. Insert, search the web, and this time we're going to put presentation theme. And let's see if there's anything in here. I'll use this image and hit insert. All right, so I'm just going to move it over a little bit and place it. All right, so now I have a 3-slide slideshow. I would typically add any other slides I need to fully vet out the topic of using themes in a presentation, but instead we're going to just have the one, and we're going to move over here and talk about the next thing I want to talk about, which is animating our content on the slide. In order to animate content, you go to that particular slide that has the text or the images, and you click on it. So if I want to animate this text, I click right here. Now, animating means that you control when it comes in and you have some form of movement going on in your presentation. I want to go ahead and have these bullets come in one by one with a click. I don't want them to all appear on this slide simultaneously, because what will happen is you're waiting for everyone to read all these bullets and think about what you've said through those bullets. They're not paying attention to you yet. And what happens with students quite often is if they can read all the bullets, they may tune you out for the rest of the presentation simply because they think, well, I've read everything on the slide, and teacher's just going to go ahead and read everything on the slide too, right? So I'm done. I'll wait till they move on. The answer again is no. You keep your bullets short, so you do all the talking. But right now we're going to animate it so they come in one by one. You do not have to highlight all the text. You simply need to click anywhere in this text box. From here, I'll go to insert again. And about 2/3 of the way down, you're going to see animation. And I'm going to click that. So just remember, select what you want to affect, insert, animation. On the right-hand side, same column, I have an area right here that says Object Animations, and it says right here THEM, THEM. This little representation is to let you know that you're in the right place. It's also highlighted in the light blue, and they offer up a animation for you right now, fade in on click, which means that the animation will fade in when you click. If I click where it says fade in, though, you'll see that there are a variety of other animations. There's appear, fly in from a variety of directions, zoom in or out, and spin. I am going to caution you about using the zoom in and spin. Might seem interesting for your text on that first slide, but with your 47-slide presentation, by the time you're on the 5th or 6th slide of that sort of animation, I'll give you a secret. Nobody likes you anymore. They don't want to see your presentation anymore either. If you have animation that is just too visually powerful, what will happen, especially on a long presentation, is they just don't want to see it anymore. And for those of you that have watched PowerPoint presentations for many, many years, do any of you recall, and you can pop in chat, let me know, but do any of you recall the typewriter animation or the breaking glass animation or the boom sound animation? where every single letter of your bullet would come in with this typewriter sound that it drove me crazy. By the third or fourth or fifth slide, I wanted to leave the room. I did not want to be subjected to all of that animation and that noise every single slide. So again, choose something simple. And I recommend appear or fade in. Even fly-ins, especially in a long presentation, can be kind of just a pain to see over and over and over again. So I am going to choose fade in on click, and you want to check by paragraph. Even though these are short, they are separated by a hard return on your keyboard, which means they are all separate paragraphs. You want them to come in by paragraph, one by one. If you don't check that, all of this text will come in at once, which defeats the purpose of animating it. So again, fade in on click by paragraph. If you think it fades in too slow or too fast, you have this slider to speed it up or slow it down. So if you want to see what this looks like, all I have to do is click play. Here is my slide, title, image is not animated. And if I click, in comes my first bullet. And I can talk about this as much as I want. When I'm ready, I click again, and in comes my second bullet. I talk about that as long as I want, and then in comes the next, and so forth. I'm going to hit stop here because I don't need to see anymore, and I don't need to animate this anymore. Good to go. I'm going to leave that image up. I'm not going to animate it, and I'm going to go over here to slide 3. I also want to animate this text. So if I click, I can go right here to add animation because I did not close that window. C-O-L-O, C-O-L-O, I'm in the right place. Fade in on click and by paragraph. Be consistent when you animate. Play, here it is, click, 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 and so forth. And I'm going to hit stop. All right, I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to close. This little, what looks like a stack of circles next to number 2 and number 3 tells you that you have created, or there is on this slide, animations. So if you're wondering what slide has animations, which one do I have to click through to get to all the content? They give you that nice visual representation on the left-hand side to let you know that this slide has animations somewhere. Now, if you're wondering about the animations, you can always, let's see, no, not here. You can always go to a slide and you can go back to insert animation if you want. And it'll show you on the right-hand side what animations you have. Just know it will also add an animation on top of the one you've got, so you'll need to remove that extra animation. So if I want to see the animations on this slide, I can go insert animation, and now I have 2, so I'll just throw one away. But this will show you what animations you've currently got on the page, and you can always expand to see what that animation is all about. So let's take a look here. Picture's worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to go and add another slide. And I'll use, how about this one? A picture is worth a slides. And I'm going to make this smaller so I can put an image. But you'll notice that I made an error right here. This was supposed to come after this one because first it's themes and then it's pictures worth 1,000 slides. So if you ever have slides in the wrong order or you just want to change it up, just know that you can click on the slide on the left and you can drag it to the position you want. All right, so now I've got this one. Again, insert image and search the web. Beautiful photo of baby penguins. Why not? I'm sure right now there's somebody looking at this going, no, no, that one, use that one. Oh, darn it, he passed it up. And insert. It's like I accidentally added it twice. All right, there we go. And so I've added another image in here, nice and big. You cannot underestimate, or you cannot overestimate, I should say, the power of a really, really good image when you're presenting. You're not breaking a rule in presenting by simply having just an image on a slide. If that image says everything you need to visually, put it up there, let it soak in, and talk. Present all the info while there's nothing but this gigantic image on the screen behind you, because emotionally evocative images will help them remember what you said. All right, now you'll notice that this image is a little bit dim. It's kind of grayish, probably because it got washed out from the sun hitting all of that ice. Just know that I mentioned previously that this menu bar may change depending on what you're working on. Well, I don't have anything selected. So here is what it looked like when I first opened up slides. When I click on text though, you'll see all of these additional text-based, text-related tools. If I click on an image, I see some image-related tools, like this one right here, crop. I can click here, and when I do, on top of my resize boxes, I get these black borders. Well, these allow me to drag and crop an image. So if I want to remove all my little penguins in the back there, I can do that. I can drag these borders, and when I click away, it crops the image for me. And now I can resize it, and my image is just centered on these two guys right here. If I click on crop again, you can see what you cropped out, and you can always change it back. Next to crop is reset image, which you can also use to undo everything that you've done to change up an image and reset it back to the original one that you used. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to click away. Now, next to the crop tool is a little handy dandy drop-down arrow. Anytime you see a drop-down arrow in a Google product, click on it. Be curious. This will let you know that you can crop in the form of shapes. So if I wanted, I could actually crop in the shape of a circle, just like that. I can also crop in the shape of, say, a little teardrop or a rounded rectangle, and so forth. All kinds of different shapes. That's using that drop-down arrow next to the crop tool. I'll go with that rounded, kind of like that. But you also have arrows, and you can actually create crops of images in the shape of all those arrows, in the shape of a call out. So you can actually have this be a thought bubble if you wanted to. And then you could put a picture of a person thinking about penguins. And then there's equations. You can actually do it inside of equation pieces if you wanted to as well. So just know that these are all available for you. Built in, you just have to select the image, go to crop, drop down, and pick the shape. But wait, there's more. You have replace image. So if you were advocating for a whole other image on baby penguins than the one I selected, when you get this copy of this presentation, you can always go over here and you can search the web and replace that image, and it will actually replace that image. So if I go over here and go baby penguin, here's a cute one. This is also a cute one, and I'll hit replace. What it does is it will resize the image that you replace with into the same exact size box, leaving the crop and leaving the rounded edges, so you don't have to do all of those all over again. So if you got the size and the shape that you want and you decide to replace the image right here, it will reformat and fit in the area that you selected. So if I go to crop, I can actually drag this image down in the crop box and then click away. So I can center this guy a little bit more. You've also got format options. Again, you have to be selected on the image to see it, but format options will allow you to rotate and resize the image manually. So I can change the width, I can change the height, I can lock the aspect ratio so that whatever I do to the width changes with the height as well. You can rotate it manually right here, simply by clicking. You can put an exact X, Y coordinate if you wanted to for where that image should be, if you're really picky. You can recolor. So if you recall the old Campbell's soup cans from Andy Warhol, you can actually recreate that by recoloring it with color washes. And if the second color wash you try doesn't show up, you can always go back to no recolor and then try another one. So it's a nice sepia tone there. So I'm going to put no recolor, but just know that you can do that. Adjustments. If this isn't bright enough, you can adjust the brightness on an image right here. You can also make it darker too. You can also adjust the contrast if you want to. And you can make an image semi-transparent. Let me reset it. There we go. So you can make an image semi-transparent as a background image and then add other text and images on top of it. So you can make a nice color wash background this way too. I'll reset it. Drop shadows. If you want to drop shadow, you can do that. Now I find sometimes that it's hit and miss as to whether this will work. On certain images it won't. And I noticed too, here we go. This one did. So I'm going to change the angle and I'm going to bring the distance out a little bit. And I'll make that a little bit more transparent. There, and blur it out. So you see you can put a drop shadow behind images. And there's even a reflection tool if you wanted to add a reflection. So all kinds of special tools built right into Google Slides just for images, just to help make your presentation real pretty. When you're done, click right there, and there you go. So our next topic here was animate, 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 which is what we did. We did that with our text right there. Transition forth was our next thing to cover here. We'll talk about that next. So we covered animation, some images. We're going to go back and cover some other things you can insert. But how about transitions? Animations are what happen here in text or in images, if you want them to appear and disappear. But a transition, which is also important in a presentation, is what happens between slides. When I'm done with slide 1 and I'm moving to slide 2, what does that look like? Does it just jump to slide 2? Is that a little jarring? Or can I add some really nice transition so it just moves from one slide to the other seamlessly in a real pretty way? And you can do that by clicking on any of your slides and then choosing transition right here from this menu. Same area here, slide transition, none. Well, there's a drop-down menu right here. And you've got dissolve, fade, slide from right or left, flip, cube, and gallery. All of these are kind of nice. Some are a little bit more intense than others, but they're all visually pleasing to some extent. Just make sure that when you actually use a transition, you apply it to all the slides. Just because you can add a different transition to different slides doesn't mean you should. Don't be that guy, okay? Nobody likes to see weird transitions from one slide to the next and then a weird transition to the next slide, because what's happening now is they're paying attention to your transitions and not you. So I am going to pick Cube and I'm going to click right here to apply it to all slides. You want to do that. Be consistent throughout your presentation. All right. If I want to see what this looks like, I can click play. All right, so it will only show you on the one slide. But if you want to see what that CUE presentation looks like, I'm going to X this out, stay on the first slide, and I'm going to click on present so you can see full screen. I can click anywhere I want on the screen. That's what Cube looks like. That's the transition. Here are my animations. I'm clicking for them to come in. And then there is Cube again, my transition. Animation, animation, and transition. Okay, then I'll hit escape to get back to the editor. So that's what the transition looks like. Just remember to apply it to all slides, okay? If you have transition remorse, you can always go back to transitions, change it, and apply it to all slides, and then close it again, all right? All right, the rest here we're going to cover in a bit. Let's move over and talk a little bit more about the interface. Under File, you've got Share. You also have this great big orange Share button right here too that does the same thing. New, here you can actually create a new document or spreadsheet, form or drawing, or a new presentation right from here. It'll open up in a new tab and you can actually create a second presentation while you still have this one open. You can open up existing files in Drive by just clicking here and navigating to it. You can import slides. So if I want, I can actually click on this and then look at any presentations I may have in Google Slides. Well, I've got this one, which is the one that I use for my overall presentation, but I also have this one. But this one is a PowerPoint. You'll notice it has an orange P rather than the Google Slide icon. So this is a PowerPoint that I brought into Drive, and it's sitting somewhere. And if I go over here and click select, it will actually go hunt down that PowerPoint formatted presentation, and it will convert it to an extent to allow me to see the slides. So if I wanted to, I could add one of these slides, even though this is a PowerPoint. So I can actually pick 1, 2, 3, and slide 10 just by clicking on them. If I want, I can go ahead and click away again. And the other cool thing is you can choose to keep the original theme from the PowerPoint, or you can uncheck it and it will just apply your current theme to that slide. So I grab that first slide and I said keep the theme. Well, there it is. This is a theme from PowerPoint. This theme works just fine though. You see I've got it here and I could copy and paste this and copy and paste this and use this theme throughout my entire slideshow if I wanted to. To get rid of it, I'm just going to right click and let's see here, choose delete. There we go. So just know you can import both from Google Slide presentations or from PowerPoints, or you can click here and upload an existing PowerPoint in and then choose slides from it. You can make a copy of selected slides only or the entire presentation. So if you recall, I said that when you actually came to the presentation I was using for this training right here, that if you were logged into Google and you visited this short URL, you could go to File and you could make a copy. Same thing here. You can download. If after you've used all this Google goodness, at the end, your boss or somebody else needs it to be in a PowerPoint format, you can go to File, Download, and there's PowerPoint right there. And it'll download a version as a PowerPoint, which you could then open up. It'll open up in PowerPoint, and you could use it like any other presentation. So if I go PowerPoint, it downloads it. I had that little flash. And if I go to Downloads, here it is. And if I double click, it will open up PowerPoint. And I'll share that screen. And this is PowerPoint. And here is my Google slide presentation that I downloaded. And let's see here. If I go slideshow, play from start. Well, there's my cube theme. Here are my animations and so forth. So all of this works just fine in PowerPoint too. Just wanted to be sure you saw that. All right, let's get back to our Google slide presentation. You can also download it as a PDF. So there's a built-in PDF creator. It will download this as an Adobe PDF, and you can send this to anyone. They don't have to have PowerPoint to open it. It's just a PDF file. Everyone can get Adobe PDF for free. And you can download the existing current slide to JPEG if you want. Unfortunately, you can't download all the slides to JPEG at once. But if you download it as a PowerPoint, you can, because in PowerPoint, you can go File, Save As, and save it as JPEGs and get every image that way if you needed every slide to be a JPEG, okay? You can email as an attachment, and there's version history. If you've never looked at version history, I always cover it in Docs and Drive, but version history is fully available here as well. So if I go to version history and see version history, same column opens up, and I can expand this menu, and it will show me every change that I have made in this presentation. And if I go further back, you'll see that there are fewer slides, no animation, all the way till there's just my title slide, all the way until it's almost blank, and then here it's actually blank. So every revision I've ever made is here. And if I pick a revision, I can click over here and restore it to that. So if I accidentally deleted a bunch of stuff, I can go back to File, Version History, and I can go back to any previous version of it and restore it back to that version. To get out of here, there's a little arrow right up here. You can rename it here, although you can just click up here and rename it too. You can move it to a different folder if you'd like from here. You can add a shortcut to Drive. Now this one is good if this is a presentation you've opened that was shared with you. And so it's under Shared with Me in Drive, and you would like to have a shortcut in your Drive instead of having to dig through Shared with Me. Well, if you add a shortcut to Drive, you will have a link in Drive that shows the presentation, and you can organize it, putting it in folders and subfolders, just like anything else you have in your personal Drive. I can throw it away here, publish it to the web. If I publish it to the web, I can get embed code, which means I can actually embed this on, say, a blog or a website, and I can choose whether or not it auto advances. And I can even have it restart after the last slide. That's known as kiosk mode. And if you've ever been to an open house and you've seen teachers put up a slideshow saying, welcome parents, and there's pictures of kids doing things on the slideshow. And when it gets to the last slide, it moves automatically back to the first slide and keeps on going. You can do that here, publish to the web, and then you can say restart the slideshow after the last slide, and you can actually embed that and use it, and it will go into kiosk mode, going all the way back and continuing cycling through. Pretty cool stuff here. Document details will tell you where it's located, who made it, last time it was modified, and at what time it was created. Language is not translate this presentation. Language is just the language that you will use as what language do you speak when you're using Google. Leave it alone. If you change it to something, you may have to learn that language to put it back to the way it was. So don't mess with that one, all right? Page setup. Right now you're in widescreen, which is great if you're going to present on like an HD TV because it's going to have a nice 16:9 format. But you can also do a standard 4:3, or a super wide screen 1610, or even custom. Custom is cool, and a lot of people don't know about this one in slides. If you just create a presentation and you do nothing else with it, you can actually go to custom. So I'm going to show you real quick. I'm just going to create one more slideshow so you can see this in action. I'm going to get rid of this title and this subtitle, and I'm going to go File, Page Setup, and Custom. All right, who in here knows what an infographic is? Has anyone in here seen what an infographic looks like? Throw in the chat whether you've seen an infographic before. If not, I will show you. What an infographic looks like. These are all infographics. What an infographic is an informational graphic. You see this all the time in doctors' offices, in in schools, maybe at the gym. Maybe the gym has a really long, tall banner that explains. So let's go here. Infographic, free weight workout. So maybe you go in a gym and you see something like this. Maybe it's something really long like this. So it's kind of like a banner, but rather than being sideways, it's tall and a lot more narrow. So let's see if that loads for us here. No, that one didn't load for us. Here's another one. All right, so let's see here. These are all infographics. They're short representations, but if I click, you'll see that it's long, it's tall, and not so wide. This is informational graphics. These are great for students to create because rather than creating, say, a book report, they can create an infographic that talks about the story, and they can list things and add character images and text and graphics and boxes and add color and elements. And you can do this for class rules and stuff like that too. You can create those in slides. So if I said, I want this to be 10 inches wide, but I want it to be 36 inches tall. Here it is, 10 inches wide and 36 inches tall. I'll close out of themes and I will zoom in. And you can see that this is really tall and there's a lot of space to work with. And so I can insert all kinds of images and shapes and text boxes and all kinds of stuff and create an informational graphic using slides that can stay online, and people can go in there and click and watch movies that are embedded in it, click on hyperlinks, all kinds of cool stuff. So again, that is under File, Page Setup, and then you just choose Custom, and you can make this as long or wide. You can create banners in here if you wanted to, simply by changing up the page setup. There's also Print Settings and Preview under File. This one's kind of nice because it allows you to preview certain aspects of it. Well, here is all of the slides, and I could download it as a PDF handout. But what if I want notes? Remember those old traditional 3 slides per page with the lines next to it? Well, that's right here. Handout, 3 slides per page. And there it is. And so you can hand these out if you wanted to, and people could bust out their pens and write notes in those lines underneath each slide as you go through your presentation. And also, you can download this as a PDF right here too. Well, if you don't want it in landscape mode, here's portrait. And I'll bet this is something you used to see when you attended presentations. And again, right here, download it to PDF or print it directly from Google to your printer. And then you can make photocopies and hand them out. You've also got 9 slides per page. And so I've only got 4 slides, but you can see it will space them out for you. 1 slide with notes, Here is my first slide. I really didn't have much by way of notes. I'll close preview. But that's great if you wanted to do handouts. That's available for you too. If you just choose print, it will download it as a PDF. Not too useful unless you want to hand out a PDF. Under edit, your usual suspects, undo and redo, cut, copy, paste, select all, and find and replace. So if you were doing a presentation about your best friend, Tori, and then Tori said she didn't want to be your friend anymore, you could actually go in here and do a find and replace, and you could change Tori's name out with anybody else's. So just know you find and replace is built into this. I'm giving Tori a hard time because she's in this presentation right now. Under view, you can present here. You can take a look at motion. You can change the master. If you've ever played with the master document in Microsoft Word, you know that this is a place you don't want to go into unless you tread lightly. If you change the master file, what it is it changes how every single presentation you make looks. I wouldn't recommend messing with this document unless you're comfortable playing with the master file. Grid view will show you all of your slides in a grid view. That's also activated by this right here on the bottom. And you can put it back to the film strip view, as they call it, right here. So just know that you can change it over to that view if you want that way. You have a zoom tool here. You have presets, or you can use, I have the Mac, so I've got the command option and then plus. For you guys, you'll have something else like control plus and control minus if you have a PC. You've got guides. If you want guides, you can have them. If you click here on that, again, that's under view and guides and show guides. You'll have center guides built for you automatically, and you can use those to line up content on the page if you want. If you want more, you can click on any of these rulers and add guides. And same thing here. You can add guides by clicking on the ruler. These are adjustable. You can move them, place them however you want. Maybe you want one every inch, and you can do that. A little handy dandy box pops up to tell you where you are as far as inches go. So if you want, you can put those there and they'll help you line up images and text. And then when you're done, you can go back to view, guides, and then click here again, and it'll get rid of the guides. If you don't want to see speaker notes, you can uncheck it. That box on the bottom will disappear. Under insert, this is a big one. We covered images already. We can add additional text boxes. Simply click insert, text box, and then drag a box on the screen. You'll have another text box. You can type in there. You can move it wherever you'd like. Text boxes have additional features to them. I'm clicking on the text box, and there's all kinds of stuff available right here, including fill colors. Maybe I want a yellow fill. Maybe I want a border. Maybe I want that border to be red. And maybe I don't want it so thick, so I'll make it like a 2-point. So you can adjust the border and fill color on a text box. And then you can just click in here and type. I'll click again and hit delete. You can insert audio. If you do that, you need to have the audio file in Drive. Now, why would you have audio in a slide presentation? Let's think about this. Lots of teachers right now are building presentations to present information in the lesson, and they're putting in the Google Classroom for their kids to look at and click through. While they're clicking through this presentation and there's no sound, it's just words and they're reading the words, what are they used to? They're used to a teacher talking while presenting the information. Here's a cool thing using insert audio. As a teacher, you can take your cell phone and use voice memo. Go to each slide. So you start off in the first slide. You go ahead and start a voice memo and say what it is you would usually say on the first slide. Stop it, name the file, slide 1, and then send it to yourself via email. Share it via email. Then you can go to slide 2 and say everything you would have said here as you're clicking through the slideshow, the slide, and then stop it, save it as slide 2, and send it via email. When you get all of those audio files sent to you, you can open them in email, and then every single slide you can go insert audio. All you have to do is get it from your email onto your computer and then upload it into a folder on Drive. If you do that, you'll have the name slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. You can put it in a folder, name it whatever you want, go find it, and you can embed that audio file on every single slide. And so your students in classroom can still see the presentation, but they know they can click on the speaker icon and hear your voice for that slide. Then they move to the next one, they click on the speaker icon and they hear their voice, your voice for that slide. So it's almost like you're there with them while presenting. The other reason you might want to use insert audio is that if you've got something like, let's say, an animal sound or a nature sound or something like that, just know that you can embed those sounds into your presentation, and they become part and parcel to the mood of that particular slide. All right, so other things we can insert, video here. All right, so if I add a slide, I can embed video here. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna go over here to slide 4, and I'm going to embed another one right here. This one is a title, no content below it. And I'm gonna go to insert video. When I do that, it's YouTube centric in part, but there's also the ability to add Drive videos. So it gives me a search box right here for YouTube. And if I click it, I can go in here and go baby penguin. And it'll search YouTube for baby penguin. So here's one super cute penguin chick tries to make friends. I click it, I hit select, and I wait a moment, and here is my video. I can drag it over, move it to the middle, and then I can add a title to the top if I want, and so forth. So, cute baby penguin video. And here it is.
It's a daunting prospect.
I don't have to have the text if I don't want it. I can click on that, click on the border and delete it. And then I can make this much bigger if I wanted to. And I'll show you one more feature you can do. I can go to background right here. And instead of a white background, I can choose black. And that actually gets rid of those borders visually. And now I just have the video. So yeah, and the other thing too is don't just think in terms of slides as something a teacher can use. Slides is something that a student can use as well. So your students can create presentations, and utilizing the insert audio, they can actually read the story. They can read each slide of the story and then bring it in and add it in there. So not only can they see the slide, they can hear the student reading the slide out loud. So other things you can insert, shapes, all kinds of different shapes in here. Tables, just choose how many columns and how many rows. Charts, you can insert charts. If you insert a chart that doesn't have information, it's going to give you information to add, but then you can change it up. So if you don't have the info, but you want a chart, I'll go down here to 5 and I'll insert another slide type. If I go to insert chart and I choose a pie chart, I haven't selected any information, but what will happen is Google will offer up a chart with some pat information, generic information in here for you. But you can go over here to this drop-down menu and open the original source. And this will show you behind the scenes a super secret slide or a super secret spreadsheet that has this nice chart and the data that made the chart. So if you want, you can put in here all kinds of things. Maybe you go on a field trip and you're like, field trip findings. And you go, okay, we were on that field trip in the sequoias, and how many pine cones did we find? Oh yeah, we found 78 pine cones. All right, how many raccoons did we see? This is where I figure out whether or not I can spell raccoons. And let's say we found 2 raccoons. And deer, we found 8 deer total. And between all of us, trash. Unfortunately, we found 567 pieces of trash. Which you can see in this chart, it breaks that down for us. And it's not points scored. So I'm going to highlight here, and I'm going to put field trip findings. And then I'll close this up. So here's my chart, and I'm working this in Sheets, which is like Excel. What's cool though, is I can close this, go back to this chart that I embedded with random info and hit update. And here it is. So if I don't have info, but I want a chart, insert chart, and then pick the kind, and then I can go behind the scenes, manipulate this secret information to find my chart. If this is incorrect or I get additional info, I can go back here, open source again, and I can change any of that. And I believe I totally misspelled raccoons. Probably still did. All right, so if I go over and say, no, we found 18 deer. It changes that. I close it here and I update. And there we go. So charts are available for you as well. If you do have data, you can put it in the Google Sheets. You can go to that sheet, highlight that data, and then create a chart directly off that data. If the data in that chart changes in the future, you will see here the ability to reload the chart and put in the updated information automatically from that spreadsheet. You have diagrams as well. I'm going to click here and delete this chart. You can insert diagrams too. There are a variety of different diagrams, and here's even timelines. And so you can go in here and insert a timeline and then change it. This is fully editable. You can go in here and change it up however you'd like to have a really beautiful timeline. You can determine how many dates you want. You can put up to 6 dates. Here's up to 6 dates. So I'm going to delete this because I got ahead of myself here. So I'll go back. There we go. 6 dates, color. I'll do a purple, and here we go. This is a timeline with 6 dates, and again, fully editable. Pretty cool stuff in here, all built in to slides ready to go for you. Word art isn't even worth looking at. It's very simple, nowhere near what's in Microsoft Word, but it does have a little bit in there, but word art's one of those things that I tend to see as kind of passé. Most people don't use it anymore, but it is available for you if you wanted to add a little word art to it, some text. You can insert lines with connectors, arrows, arrowheads, all kinds of different things in here too. I want to show you one that I especially like. Let's say I have here, let's see, valedictorian speech by Edward Juarez. Now, what if in Juarez, the E had an accent point over it? You can highlight the E and go to Insert Special Characters. I'll move this over so you can see. If I go over here and type in E, it's going to give me all the different E's in here. And of course, I can probably find E's with accent points. Now, that's one tool you can use. But what if this was Happy Pi Day, March 14th? And I want to insert pi. I can go Insert, Special Characters, and I can actually hand draw in here the pi symbol. And there it is. Emojis work in here too, by the way. You don't have to be a perfect drawer. And yes, if you try hard enough, you can probably draw all kinds of interesting emojis. You can also draw icons for things like houses. Again, terrible drawer, but here it is. So just know that you can use special characters, you can type in and look them up, or you can literally draw them to find them as well. So I had a question here. If a student submits work from a chart in Classroom, will it still update, or is the submission more like a frozen copy? So if a student submits work that has a chart embedded in it, let's say they submit work to you as part of homework. Let's say Google Classroom, you hand out a presentation to all the students, and they use that and they insert a chart. If they update the information on the attached spreadsheet, when you look at that student's work, that presentation is shared with you. So you will see the update on the chart. You can click it and it will update the information from their spreadsheet because it's built into the chart. It's not a separate file. So if they create their own and share it with you and you can see it, you can update it to update the info as well. Usually in Google Classroom, it's shared with you as an editor. If you hand out blank presentations to all the students, you own those files. So any changes they make, you will be able to update that chart because you own that file. You will see the update circle. You can click it and update it. So I hope that answered your question. All right, what else here? Here's where the animation was again. You can insert hyperlinks. So if you want to, you can say National Park Service. So I've got National Park Service, and if I want this to be a URL, I can highlight it, and I can click here, or insert, and link. And when I do, it will actually try to find that information. So if I don't see it here, then I can just type it in. And then I can click apply. What I like about hyperlinks in Google type documents is when you click on it, it doesn't immediately go to that place, but it will show you a preview first, which is great because you don't wind up having a link that takes you to some unknown location. You click on links in Google Docs and slide presentations, it shows you where you're going to go and even gives you this nice thumbnail for it. And you can click and go to that website safely because you know you're going to the right place. So under format, you have text, and you have additionally strike through, superscript, and subscript, different sizes, colors. 64 colors are available for you, and you can create custom colors, and when you do, they will show up in the custom menu underneath your colors. Highlight colors, same thing, 64 web safe colors, and you can create custom colors too that you can use over and over again. And then some capitalization features here. Under slide, new slides, duplicate a slide, delete. You can even skip slides so they won't show up when you actually present. Here's where you change background again. Here's where you can adjust layout of an existing slide. Transitions are here. Under arrange, you can arrange things too. So I'm going to give you an example of this. So I'm going to bring in a couple of images here real quick. So I've got this picture's worth 1,000 slides. I'm going to bring this slide up under it. And I'm going to insert image, and I'm going to search the web. And I like all these baby penguin pictures. Yes, we're doing the penguin theme right now. I like this one. I like this one. And see, I can choose multiple pictures. I do like this one, and I like this one. And I'm going to say insert, and all four of them are going to get thrown in here. Boom. And they're stacked on top of each other. I'm going to click away so I can just choose the one, and I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm going to move it over. And I'm going to click on this one and make it smaller and move it over. And I don't see a number 4 in here anywhere. So you can always go back, but we'll work with these 3. Now you notice that these are layered on top of each other. They come in one by one. If I add another slide or add another image, insert image, search the web, and I will pick this one and insert. The fourth one shows up on top of all of them. So they come in the order that you place them. Well, what if I don't want this order? What if I want to lay them out as a collage and I want to see how I can lay them out to best work together? Well, I can take this one right here and I can move it over here and arrange, order, send it to the back. I still see my resize boxes, so I'm going to make it bigger. This one, I'm going to move over here and take advantage of this empty space. This one, I'll move over here. And this one, I kind of want this under this one. So I'm going to click here and go arrange, order, and I'm going to say bring or send backward. What this does is send it back one level. That didn't really work for me though, did it? So I'll undo. I'll move this one back a bit. So know that you can arrange going back one or forward one, going all the way back or all the way forward. So this one didn't really work out for us, did it? So I'll make it smaller, drag it over, take this one, move it up, and I'm going to take this one right now and go arrange, order, send to back. There we go. And I'll make this a little bit smaller. So you see that you can build collages with images this way. Arrange, order, send to back. There we go. So I can make these nice collages of images. I can stack things on and I can arrange them in whatever order I want. So that might prove helpful for you when you want to put a lot of images. And remember what we talked about with animation. You can insert, I click on, let's see, I'll click on all of these and go insert animation, and let's see what we get. If I grabbed all of them by dragging across them and go insert animation, look, I get all 4 images. So fade in on click, fade in, on click, fade in, on click, and fade in, on click. Now when I play, 1 image, 2nd image, 3rd image, and 4th image. So all I'm doing is applying animations to images just like I can with text. All right, other tools. You have spell check built right in. You have the ability to look up words in dictionary. You can explore the web and look up content if you want. There are accessibility settings. You can turn on the screen reader support and Braille support, collaborator announcements, and so forth. So there is help for students who need that additional support. All right, I think I've covered just about everything that is in here. But I want to talk about, at this point, presenting. I can present at any time by simply clicking on the slide I want, and I can go to view and present, or I can go to present right here. And that will open up full screen. You have a menu down here that you can use to pick a particular slide you want to show, or you can just click right here, or you can click just anywhere on the screen. And again, click to go through your animations, and then you'll get your transition. So I'm clicking through and you see the animations here. Pictures worth 1,000 slides. And then here is my 4 images coming in one by one. And then here is my BBC video. And I am going to use, oh, that's my last slide. So I'll click exit or hit escape, and that brings me back. That's how I typically present. If you want to present with speaker notes, you can go right here, presenter view, just use the drop-down arrow by present and presenter view. Now this takes me to slide 6 because that's where it was, so I'll go back to 1. What happens here is a little bit different than PowerPoint though. So you don't see what just popped up on my screen. So what I'm going to do is do a new share of this right here. So this guy showed up over my screen. This is a second little window. This is sort of like your speaker notes, presenting with speaker notes. Unlike PowerPoint, where you can see one thing on your computer and it projects to the big screen your presentation, you have to make sure you split things here as well. It doesn't happen automatically unlike PowerPoint. So what I recommend you do is that this portion right here, you leave on your computer screen, and the presentation you put on the LCD projector or TV screen, which means you will have to present with a split screen. When you do your monitor settings or display settings, don't mirror screens. Leave them split, drag this to your screen, drag the presentation onto the big screen or TV, and then you can click around on this one, and that will take you to the next slide, which is showing up on my big screen, but you can't see it. So let's see if I can do a screen share of the whole desktop. All right, now you should see both. And let me move this away. There we go. Now I think you should see my whole desktop now. So this pops up over it. You leave this on your computer and you can move through your slides this way, or you can click next here and it will go through your animations. This big part you leave on the big screen for everyone to see, and you click through, and then you can see the previous, the next slide, this slide that you're on, and your speaker notes will be here. Now there aren't any notes, but if you recall, I put on slide 1, be sure to introduce yourself. So that's there for you too. And yes, there's a nice timer for you too to help you figure out how long you need for each slide. But wait, there's more. On top of speaker notes, there's audience tools. This one blows PowerPoint out of the water when it comes to presenting in a big crowd. Has anybody here who's attending this presentation right now, pop in the chat and let me know yes or no. Has anyone here ever presented to a large group of people? Great. All right, so if you presented to a large group of people and you presented using a PowerPoint presentation, you know that quite often there are people in the crowd who will raise their hand in the middle of your presentation and ask you questions, and it will throw you off mentally because now you have to get back to your slide, think about what you're going to say, try to remember what you said up to the point of the question, and then move on. Well, if you use the audience tools when you do that speaking with or presenting with Q&A notes, if you swap from the speaker notes to audience tools, you can start audience tools. And what it does is it adds this guy right here to the top of every single slide. And I'm going to say that I'm accepting questions from anyone. Now, if you have a cell phone handy, feel free to put in this address on your cell phone right now, and or on another tab on your computer, and you can actually ask me a question right now, and it will appear right here. And so if I have this on my computer and the big screen showing this, I can present to 300, 400 people, and they do not have to raise their hand to ask me a question. All they have to do is pull out their cell phone, go to this address, which is on the top of every single slide, okay? And if they ask their question, it's going to appear here. So I don't have anyone game. Anyone who wants to put that into their computer or into their cell phone and ask a question real quick? Out of a room full of 300, 400 people, the questions come in here. And as I present and I look down, I see these questions and I can decide right then and there, do I want to incorporate this question into what I'm saying now? Oh, wait a minute, no, I have the answer on the next slide. So I'm not even going to acknowledge the question yet because I'll cover it in the next slide. And the questions will appear. So I see that nobody is game. No one wants to ask a question in this tool. But if they did, everyone can see the question, and if they like the question, they can give it a thumbs up. So what is sharing is caring? That's going to be next, where are penguins from? So if anyone else is in here, you can actually thumbs up somebody else's question. And what happens is the thumbs up rise to the top, and I can see a question that 12 people gave a thumbs up to, and I know I really should answer that question. But because I see this on my screen, I can incorporate it into my presentation without any stoppage. No one has to raise their hand. These questions just pop in on my screen, and I can just roll with it, okay? It's a great tool for when you're presenting to a big audience. When you're done, simply turn that off, and that goes away. Okay, so we're back to the small screen now. All right, so the last thing I'm going to cover here is sharing. Sharing is caring, right? Sharing is caring. We already covered question everything right there. That was our Q&A. To share a PowerPoint or a slide presentation in Google, click on share here, and you'll see share with others. And here's where you can put in names of people and see if they pop up. If they don't, find someone who does. So you can look up somebody in your domain, you can click and add them right here. And so this is the who. You can go in here and add as many people as you want. This is the who. Over here is the what. What do you want them to be able to do? Just view the presentation? Then you choose that. Do you want them to be able to comment? Choose that. Or can they edit, which means they can make changes, move slides around, delete, add content, and so forth. If they mess something up, don't forget about the file revision history. You can always put it back. But this is the who, this is what they can do. Now, if I want more global permissions, I can go down here to advanced, and here it says private. I'm going to change that. These are your audience levels. This one is where it starts typically off, and you share with specific people. This is what most teachers do. They grab a couple of teachers from their grade level and they share it with them, and they get feedback. Well, if I move up a level, then the audience becomes anyone at Tulare County Office of Ed who has the link. So not only do they have to be logged into their TCOE account, I have to send them the link in order to open it. This one is anyone at TCOE can find and access. And what that means is in Drive, they can actually search for and find this presentation. This next one is anyone with the link, and it says right here, no sign-in required. They do not have to be logged into Google. This is a popular one for teachers who want to share out a flyer. So they make it in Google Docs or on slides, and then they PDF it, and then they share that link. Anyone with the link can view it. No sign-in required, which means parents can click on that link and view the document. This topmost one is everyone in the world can find this and access it. No sign-in required. This means Google can index it into their search engine as well. These are the audience levels from just me to everyone. This is what they can do with it. The last thing you ever want to do is put a presentation out there that's public on the web and anyone can edit it, because they'll destroy your presentation if they find it. So if you want to edit, it should be with specific people, and it should be with people who've logged in, who have the link. You directly sent it to them, or can comment. Can comment's a great one for students to use when they want to get another student, like a shoulder partner, to be an editor for them. And so they will share it with that specific student, and then what they'll do is they will say, can comment. And that student will get an invite to the document, and then they can put in comments on there for the other student to see, and then they can resolve those comments. All right, so I think I've covered everything in here. Again, the presentation, if you did not catch, the short link to it is right here. I will be putting or uploading the recording of this presentation into YouTube. And tonight or tomorrow, you will receive a link to the YouTube video. and you will be able to pause and start anytime you want, and open up Drive and open up slide presentation and follow along, explore the menus and so forth. And don't just rely on my YouTube video. There are tons of people out there on YouTube who want to tell you how smart they are. Just search for Introduction to Google Slides and make sure you pick something that was created in the last 6 months, and make sure all of the features are there and available for you and are inherent. So that said, is there any questions? Does anyone want to ask a question in chat? You can feel free. Otherwise, if you want to, you can pop your microphone on and ask a question. I'd be happy to answer it. If there are no questions or you don't have any questions, you can feel free to jump out of the meeting at this point and wait for the recording link to be sent to you, and you can follow at your own pace. So any questions from anyone? I guess not. All right, so the one thing, oh, what I said, thanks again, Steve. You know, the one thing I didn't show you that I can, and I'll make sure it's incorporated into the video, was that if you bring in a PowerPoint into Drive, okay? You bring a PowerPoint in, you can right click on it. So let's see here. You can bring in a PowerPoint, right click on it and say open with slides. What that will do is open up that PowerPoint in Slides as a native PowerPoint file. Even though it is PowerPoint, you can actually edit this file just like you were on PowerPoint. And it will save and keep those changes and still keep it as a PowerPoint. But if you want to convert it after you right click and open it with Slides, you can go File and then save it as a Google slide. And it will copy a copy of this into Slides as an actual native slideshow that you can then edit as a Google slideshow too, okay? So I wanted to make sure you saw that you can do that. All right, so we'll go ahead and stop here since there aren't any questions. Expect that link soon, and hopefully I'll see some of you soon for my Google Sheets training too. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.